Yeah,
in
it's all
terms of
about the
this,
giving, the spreading, the charging others with it. And it's not like it leaves you. It's like it can only grow. It's not by giving it away that you're like then losing the crystal. It's helping it multiply, a positive virus in a way.
Hey everyone, it's Raghu. I'm back with Mindrolling and an old friend. We only know
not
each
as old
other
as you.
online. Yeah, I know.
Looking good though.
Yeah, thank you. Ramin Nazer, and he is a man of many talents. Some of the caricatures of the podcasters that you see on Be Here Now Network come from him. And he's done other stuff for us, for the foundation and so on. So he's very talented that way. And you still have the podcast going on, right?
I sure do. I've got two podcasts, actually. I have one called Rainbow Brain Skull, which you've been a guest on before. That's where I interview mystics, artists, creatives, those types of people. And then I've got another one called Mind Under Matter with Shane Moss. And we kind of take a more science approach to that one. We kind of study the underlying mechanisms of what makes us behave the way we do. Like, why are we irrational sometimes? Where does this come from? And try to break that down. Yeah.
Right. You know, that just reminds me, I did a podcast the other day with an amazing woman, a social scientist, and she, a therapist, psychotherapist, and she had written a book around how do you manage parenting and work and thrive, which is huge, huge thing. So the whole book was full of different presentations around what you can do to get a new perspective, shall we say, and be able to manage the duality that we set ourselves, polarity that we set ourselves into about work and parenting and so on. And it was, she knew, of course, where I came from, and the East and Ram Dass and all that stuff. And she said, you know, I don't really know that much. I'm not that well versed in Eastern philosophy and so on. I'm more attuned to the science of what is. And I said, well, you know what? I went into your book and it's all be here now or mindfulness or, you know, I mean, it's just couched differently and it's really part of the one. There isn't anything separate. And of course, His Holiness the Dalai Lama is really pushing for research and so on around some of the meditative accomplishments that Tibetans have, and just the reality that Tibetan Buddhism represents, are being absolutely confirmed by the various different scientific experimentation, et cetera, that are going on. So I love that. You know, what you just said is, you know, here's something that's science-based and everything. The way that it's coming together, especially Tibetan Buddhism, which to me has the most, well, this is just personal projection. I wouldn't know shit. But their version of reality seems quite sophisticated.
Can you indulge me here for a second? But I know that there's Mahayana Buddhism and Theravada Buddhism. Are those both Theravada, Tibetans, or is one of them Tibetan?
No. So in the generality of Buddhist paths, Theravadan is the one that sticks to the original utterances of the Buddha, you know, and doesn't. The Buddha's the teacher. You are the teacher. It's non-dual, very much so in that way. And then there's Mahayana Buddhism, which starts to encompass a greater purview around the Buddhist teachings, and then all the way, and though that's what was developed in North India in 12th century, 13th century, where they had this incredible university called Nalanda. And from there, amazing, amazing transformed beings came to be. And one of them, Naropa, I believe. And intellectually, I'm nowhere near being able to really elucidate. I kind of absorbed. It's like The Art of Motorcycle. You know that book, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance?
I haven't read it, but I know that book.
Oh,
I always loved the title.
Yeah, it's really great. It's basically, amongst other things, this is really going on a tangent from Tibetan
what I'm
Buddhism.
Here for.
Yeah. It's basically about, okay, there's a motorcycle, a beautiful, beautiful BSA or Harley or whatever, right? So one person will come up to that bike and all he'll want to do, he or she, is to take it apart and put it back together and know the intricacy and the connection of every part in that bike. Another person comes along and goes, wow, incredible, and absorbs the beauty of it into in a joyful, blissful sense. Doesn't care anything about the mechanics of it whatsoever. So he talks about these are two different kinds, basic personalities in the world.
Yeah.
I'll be the guy that went by the bike and went, whoa. I don't know where you'd be. Maybe you'd be there too. I don't know.
I think so. I think I was never that's a weird one. I wouldn't say I'm all the way on one spectrum, but there is a certain type of personality that, takes apart their father's ham radio and then the father is all upset and couldn't get it to work again, that kind of thing. I never really quite had that, but I'm also very computery and I love to figure out how to get this thing to work and get in there. But I would maybe, if I had to pick one behind the voting booth, I'm more appreciate the motorcycle. You don't need to take it apart.
Yeah. Well, you got that other side to you, though. That's pretty great, actually. Very great.
Especially in today's world where we've moved into the computers entirely.
Yeah. So Tibetan Buddhism being, in my mind, the most sophisticated reality that gets presented in any kind of context that we can try to understand.
Not Catholicism?
Catholicism.
I'm just joking.
I'm thinking, every one of these traditions has a mystical part that's real and does point in the same way to all of them. So, including Catholicism. Anyhow, Naropa went there and he brought Buddhism, which had mostly been called, the religion at that time was Bon, B-O-N, which was more animistic in nature and so on and so forth. And then emerged this is like my Buddhist friends are going to kill me. How dare you even try to explain anything?
Beats letting me explain it.
Yeah.
And plus, you'll get more engagement maybe this way. You'll get more comments and things, people correcting you, and that's the trick. Getting people to come alive. Nothing gets people to come alive than wanting to correct you.
Yes, that's it. Perfect. Anyhow, what emerged or who emerged at that time is Padmasambhava, who is the great guru of Tibet, and in fact, all the way to today. So I don't know, 12th, 13th, 14th century. I haven't, it's in there somewhere when he was alive. And what he did was there was all these secret teachings represented by objects or actually written on parchment or something. And he put them in different places. And they have, over these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, they've emerged through dreams that somebody had. Go pick up that rock over there by somewhere, and there it is. And then they take it and they establish it in terms of study. The whole monastery is going through and studying this terma, or it's being revealed in one way or another.
Cool.
All the way to today.
They're still uncovering new ones?
Yeah.
Do we know how many there are?
No, it's a lot though. It's not a crazy thousands, I don't think, but I think it may be in the hundreds.
That's so cool. Like that. I love it reminds me of something about the way ayahuasca is put together, like the shaman in Peru or wherever it was first concocted. Like the way they figured it out was that the forest told them. They just had a dream that if you combine this over here with this, like seemingly unrelated things, it'll put together this magic spiritual portal thing. And the fact that people will have dreams and just know that it's under this rock or somewhere, that's pretty magical.
Seemingly unrelated.
Yeah.
We are related.
It's the only type of related, I guess, or a seemingly type of unrelated is the only type, seemingly.
So we're talking about Tibetan Buddhism in this moment, and I came across, by the way, I just came back from India a few weeks ago.
The Himalayas, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was incredible sitting in front of those mountains.
How long had it been since you were back there?
Well, 3 years. Since 3 years
like
of the
pandemic. Okay.
Yeah.
So a little while, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was going every year. That was my retreat, was going to India. I have family up in that area, and all of my history there with Ram Dass, Krishna and friends. So anyhow, I did do that, and I took one book that I got before I left that just came out, or just now came out in November here, 2022. And it's from, do you know who Pema Chodron is?
Pema Chodron.
Yeah,
no.
Okay, no. This is fabulous then. I can't wait
you get to turn me on?
Yeah,
cool.
It's my favorite thing in the world. People, I met up with people in India, and it was great turning them on. They had never been there before, and turned them on to different places, and we had a great time. That's fun, yeah. When people light up, I love that.
Yeah. And I always, you kind of get stuck in ruts in life where you're like, is this it? Did I figure out all the cool things already? Like I already discovered Ram Dass and Terence McKenna and John Coltrane. Is there no more like getting lit up again? And then like 2 years later, whenever you find like another thing that you obsess over for months, and teachings that you can't imagine having moved forward without those teachings. So hit me what you got.
It's a book called, well, first of all, Pema Chodron. Now, I've been mouthing off about this since I came back from India. I did a podcast with my old partner, David Silver, on.
Oh, cool.
We went through the book. She's quite old now and not that well, so it doesn't do a lot in terms of getting her on a podcast. So we did that. And then anybody I talked to in my regular ongoing life, you have got to read this book. I'm a complete proselytizer for Pema Chodron.
I'm guilty of that too. Like whether it's Sapiens or some science fiction thing, every few years, like you just become evangelical towards.
Yeah.
Like you need to know this.
Yeah, and the reality is, it's like your intention is bringing joy to somebody, joy, wisdom, something positive, right? You had a positive vibe from whatever this thing is, and you're going to give that to somebody else. I had a positive vibe from this book. And so, in other words, the intention and motivation takes you out of the me land that Duncan and I talk about all the time these days. And that's a new, beautiful, like crystal, like you've had the crystal of Ram Dass's stuff or Terence McKenna, whoever it may be. But this is an even more profound crystal. It's being able to give whatever resonates with you, no matter what it is. It could be worldly, it could be, but whatever it is, that motion to me is what a lot of what we're doing here is all about.
Yeah, it's all about the giving, the spreading, the charging others with it. And it's not like it leaves you. It's like it can only grow. It's not by giving it away that you're like then losing the crystal. It's helping it multiply, a positive virus in a way.
Exactly.
But how did this come into your life?
Which? This book?
The book, yeah.
Well, I'm quite familiar with her because she is a Tibetan monk, but she had a family as well. And she was
I thought that wasn't allowed. Or was it just not?
No, it is allowed.
Oh,
They have something that gets it allowed because there's a bunch of them that got families. They got a lot of kids. So something's going on there.
is it a loophole like the Orthodox Jews with the light switch on Sunday, or is it like accepted in a like more formal way?
Oh God, that reminds me of Larry David when he went out with this Jewish lady and she took him home, to have sex, but she was an Orthodox Jew. And before he went there, he thought, well, the only way this is going to happen is if I put a hole in the sheet. Jews, that's how they do it. You cover everything, you put the hole in the sheet, and that's it. And he gets over there with his sheet, and she looks up and says, Larry, what is that? And he goes, well, it's a sheet with the hole. And she throws a light at him and tells him to get out. Oh, boy.
All-time great. I was just speaking of Larry David. Do you remember the Seinfeld where George tells his boss off and then just swears at him and quits, and then gets home and realizes like, oh, I still need this job. What am I going to do? And then Kramer tells him, well, just go back and pretend it didn't happen. Pretend you were joking. That actually happened with Larry David at Saturday Night Live. He told off the producers in front of everybody. And just quit, and then the next day came back and be like, "What? That I was just I was joking around. I was joking around." And it worked. He kept his job.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Larry David. Okay, so Pema Chodron is a very close student of Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, who is the greatest interpreter of Tibetan Buddhism in the West, in my mind, and many, many people. Have you read any of his stuff?
Not like full things, but so many just random quotes just come into my life that I do plan on reading full texts of it.
Spiritual materialism, everybody. Take a gander at that. Yeah, no, it's quite unbelievable. So she was very close to him. And over the years, she has written the most plain-spoken books about how you can take these ideas, these teachings, and really use them in your day-to-day life. She is incredible at that. So she really took a page from her teacher, from Chogyam Trungpa, and really has carried that tradition on. So it's called How We Live is How We Die.
Ooh.
How we live is how we die. Yeah.
And is it spelled like Padma, but with a Y instead of a D?
Padma, no, Pema.
But it's spelled like Padma, Payma.
No, Pema, like it sounds.
Oh.
Chodron, Chodron.
Chodron.
There you go. Yeah, of course, We'll have it in the show notes, everybody. We've had it every week. Probably you're all getting sick of me talking about it, but this can be so highly advantageous to get every one of us improving the transformation from me to we. Let's start there.
Well, maybe the repetition will help it stick in case people haven't checked it out yet. And I
absolutely think that's actually very important. The redundancy like with Ram Dass, because it's part of my day-to-day quote unquote work, directing the foundation. Of course, I'm listening to a lot of different material from Ram Dass. And the wonder for me is, yes, I've heard this before, but some slight inflection, a difference of the way he presented that particular story, even, which I've heard a million times, or the way in which I suddenly become open to realizing more of the profundity of that particular teaching or story or whatever it is. So I totally believe in redundancy in terms of going back to books or talks or whatever from anybody that does it for you. So this is the start of the book. This is a book about fear of death. More accurately, the book presents a question. How do we relate to the most fundamental of all fears, the fear of death? So that's a question for you.
How do we relate to it?
How do you relate to the idea of when you think of death, and you actually, even if you could close your eyes and just pretend a little bit, some little twitch is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you no longer exist as this personality that you identify as yourself, all of the incredible people that you love and animals and on and on, work and on and on and on, suddenly, boom.
Yeah.
That's the bardo. The
It
bardo of
is.
this life into the bardo. Yeah. So, yeah.
So how do I relate to it? Well,
And you're only 22 years old or something. So
20. But the first instinct is to want to, be in denial of it, push it away, block it, just drown it with any sort of opposite energy that you can. But the true way to relate to it is by facing it and recognizing that it is not an end. Death is not the end. It is change. It is there's no such thing as death. And when we imagine it being just, well, it's nothing. It's blackness. It's just empty. Even the stars themselves, when they go supernova, there's a pulsar still there in where there was a star. Like nothing ever is gone. It just transforms into the next state. And you might find that afterwards, when you're in that state, you don't want to die in that state. You're already, and we already have died many times, whether it's through our musical taste, our food taste, our friendships, our ideology. Like what our ideology might have been when we're 10 might be completely opposite as what it is today. So in that sense, that version of me died, and then it became this.
New bardo. Yeah.
And I guess the death of the human three-dimensional incarnation is the ultimate one to face, because that's just one you and I have never done before. And we know it's coming, and it comes for everybody. And unlike the small deaths, it's a big transformation. And the mystery of it, I can't say. I have ideas, but I can't say exactly what transpires as soon as I leave this body. I have hopes, and I feel like I can rule a lot of things out. But then again, I don't know if I can even rule those out. I just know that it's change, and that awareness is eternal. The small I am is temporary, but the big I am, like I amness, it's I amness. You can't get rid of I am. It's forever. It's I am.
Yeah, that's the mantra, that I am. Well, you just expressed it all beautifully, and I don't think you even need to read the Tibetan Book of the Dead.
Yes, I do. This is just speaking. I can speak stuff, but not encompass it in my whole being.
Really?
I'm of course afraid of death and affected by death. And I mean, like our cat here, like we had a death scare with him. He was in the hospital for 3 days. So we like processed that death during those 3 days, like kind of imagining nonstop, like, oh, this could be it. I don't know if he's going to make it. Or, relatives dying, friends dying. Like it's easy to just say like, well, they're still I am. They've just, converted from this three-dimensional state into their light body awareness thing, whatever. But it's still tough, just them being gone.
Ram Dass had a great thing actually about grief. So the reality is, and he used to say this a billion times, you can live on more than one plane of consciousness at the same time. And the perfect example of this is what you just explained. There is the knowledge, this is not the end. That love that I have for this, in this case, your cat or a relative, whoever it may be, that love is absolutely indestructible. It comes from nowhere and it goes nowhere. It is the fabric of everything. Love is a shitty word, though, because mostly it's love is a business between us all, relationships, all of it. If you don't like me, I'm not going to like you. Okay. But the ability to really grieve in one moment and know that we are connected, whoever that being might be, in a way that's indestructible, and that we can rely on that. Yes, a lot of it's intellectual, as you say, but there's some place where each one of us does know. I think it's a great thing to realize that we can live in these two places when things like this happen. I think.
Yeah. Maybe even more than 2 places, but just 2 is a good
at least
starting.
2. More, he said, more than one plane of consciousness at the same time.
Yeah.
However that falls for any individual. So she says here, it's less common for people to open themselves fully to the inevitability of their own death and any fear that may provoke, and to live their lives accordingly. Now, here's the thing right here. I have found that those who do open themselves in this way are more engaged in life and more appreciative of what they have. They are less caught up in their own dramas and have a more beneficial effect on other people and on the planet as a whole. So if anybody out there goes, I'm 24 years old. What the fuck are you talking about? This is not something I need to be were you thinking about this? Well, in reality, of course, I was with Neem Karoli Baba at that moment, and everything was like completely homogenized inside of me, and most of the time. Or
what a cool. I mean, I realize that's a trap also, but that's so cool that you got to actually be there and have those experiences where it's not like, oh, now like, no one can ever reach that because it's already inside all of us. But the fact that you got to be near that old man in the blanket and watch it blend, or not even just watch, but experience reality blend into everythingness. That's a special incarnation you got there.
Yeah, homogenized. I actually think, though, there's a new book that just came out called Whisper in the Heart. It's people's experiences with Neem Karoli Baba after he left the body, which is 50 years ago next year. Holy shit.
Oh, it's all after he left.
All after. Visitations directly, like manifesting a body to them, dreams, Krishna Das, Ram Das talk, seeing us in any way, just hearing us something, in
it
many
happened to my
different
friend,
Really?
Arshan Nair. Yeah, he's an Indian artist, a visual artist, brilliant visual artist, and he discovered Neem Karoli Baba from a vision before he even knew who he was. Like he came to him in a dream, and then later like found the picture of him. I was like, that's him from the dream.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Really?
Yeah. He says it in a podcast, like he's got the longer version of it, but.
Oh, really? Tell him, somehow connect him up with me, because we're still collecting these stories. The book is out, but we're doing something online. So it'd be great.
Oh, like an extended version?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Something like that.
Yeah, he'd love to help, I imagine.
Yeah. So the way that, when I said homogenized, not a word I've used before to describe anything like this, but the way that it permeated every cell from what you said, a being, well, no more business. Okay. Maybe there was no business when I was a baby with my mother. That was completely one way. She was giving one way. There was no expectations of anything coming back whatsoever. But I had forgotten about that when I was 23, 4, when this happened. And then I was like, okay, this is real. This is real. It was, aside from the wonder of it and being in it and all of that, the idea that this can happen. For everybody, that was a big deal, a very big deal. So,
was your faith ever shaken in the last, in the time following that? Did you ever go through periods of like, did any of that even happen? Am I just losing it? Is it really just, maybe it's all just glib and a stochastic unfolding of matter and energy, and there is no love?
No.
Oh,
no.
Unshaken the whole time. That's good.
Yeah. No, I had, in fact, one day while I was with him physically, some young guy came, and he was very nervous about being there. And he kind of came, he didn't believe in gurus, and he kind of came to test Maharaji. And when he was having a hard time, Maharaji said, "What's up with him?" kind of thing. And, well, he's really not sure of what's going on. Maybe it was me. I think it was me that said, I said something, he's not sure what's going on. And Maharaji went put his face right up to my face and pointed like this and said in English, doubt. And it was about me. I don't know what that guy got. And, I'll never forget that, that's
he sensed the doubt in you.
There is, in everybody there is, of course, especially if you're living more in polarity than anything else.
Yeah.
Then you're more likely to get into that space. But
doubts.
Doubt.
There's only one video that I've found of him, and that voice, it's like it pierces you instantly, and I think he's just saying ram ram ram. That's
an audio recording that we have. Yeah, that's the only time you hear his voice.
No one sounds like that. He's got that's the only voice I've heard that sounds like that.
Yeah, right.
It's a very special cosmic register of.
Did you see this? Oh, this is good for a commercial. Did you see Brilliant Disguise? This movie we just put out, was in the theaters. It's about our mentor. It's called The Samadhi of K.C. Tiwari. Brilliant Disguise.
I haven't. Wait, you're saying it just came out in theaters?
It just went through a theater run. It was in L.A. I just never got in touch with you. I'm sorry. Is
it over? If so, I'll have to see it online or something.
It's online. That's it. A lot of people wrote and said, listen, I ain't going to no theater. When is it online? So it just went online the other day. And tell everybody about it, because it gives you, it's really darshan of Neem Karoli Baba through this man. And this man, when it was an extraordinary yogi that was able to go into states, either just hanging out with Maharaji. In fact, in one of the scenes in the film, you see Maharaji bringing him out of the samadhi by hitting him on the head. And I'm talking no pulse, no breath, because Maharaji would say, get a mirror, see if he's got breathing. It's good for Westerners that couldn't believe anything. And he was our teacher. He was assigned by Maharaji. You take care of the Westerners. And there's a great story in the movie. It features Krishna Das, who is the primary student of K.C. Tiwari and was part of his family. And I was very close to, and Jai Utah and people like that. So it's...
And he sings the kirtan, right?
Who?
Krishna Das does.
Okay, there's Krishna Das in there. There's Trevor Hall. There's Jai Utah in the soundtrack. Yeah. Cool. But it's interviews like with me and Krishna Das about our experiences with him and other people. Here's the commercial. Go to ramdas.org/brilliant-disguise. And it's
use the code BRILLIANT for 0% off.
Exactly. It's $9 or $9 something. 10.
That's a steal. That's nothing.
It's 9 nothing, and it's part of a fundraiser for Love Serve Remember Foundation, which I was going to say to you, hey, tell everybody about it. But that has footage that mostly has never been seen before of a high end somebody. Not just there's other footage that's low end, camcorder kind of stuff, 8mm back then. And somebody came with real cameras and doing a movie called Sunseed, which is worth watching as well. And Maharaji said, no sound. At first he said, no, forget about it. And then
that makes sense.
One of our other mentors, KK Shah, he inveigled him. Come on, they wanted it. It's Ram Dass's friends. So he said, okay, but no sounds. But the video is extraordinary and worth it. For you, my friend, please do watch it. It's worth the price of admission, just that.
Do you feel like he was, the guy was too uncomfortable to press on for, come on, Maharaji, just give me a little bit of sound. It doesn't have to be all sound. Or do you feel like he was afraid that, I've already stepped my boundaries?
The director who was there, he was frozen. He didn't say a word about anything. It was KK who said, "Oh, come on, these people are very good people." Blah blah blah.
Because this might be different, but I remember how Ram Dass Maharaji told Ram Dass, like, "Don't tell anyone about me." And of course, he did the opposite. But I'm wondering if that was always his intention. Like, of course, tell people about me, but
seems
don't tell
to
people
be.
about me. There's this contradiction,
Yeah, now that there's millions of people who now know. So I think that's what was going on. It was a fun game,
Yeah,
and
And there is the trap of, whatever you want to call it, the cult of personality. And when you try to spread the teachings, and it becomes too much about the worshiping of the individual. I know that's the trap, but also it's still, there's so much to be learned when it's talking about an individual, because we're individuals.
Yeah. But in this particular case, and this is, of course, my personal experience and nothing but, that there wasn't a person in that blanket. That the way we understand, the way I'm talking to you, I'm a me, you're a you, and we open up in a way that's quite beautiful, actually. And so there's a sense of that, unconditionality. It's all okay. We're cool.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. And you knew that instantly when you met this being. So there wasn't a thing about a cult. Well, he was against cults, by the way. He was against, he was breaking the caste system left and right during the time we were with him, but basically, we knew it wasn't about this later on, not maybe in the moment, because the body, it was like the biggest scoop of Haagen-Dazs. You never had Haagen-Dazs before? And then I use Haagen-Dazs because I like it could be Jerry's. Ben and Jerry.
Haagen-Dazs has better straight up flavors, and Ben and Jerry's has more too much stuff in it, which is because one of the founders, if you didn't know this, he can't taste.
Yes, no, I know Ben, actually, Ben.
Oh, you know him personally? Oh, cool.
Yeah, just met him at different conventions.
Ben Greenfield?
Yeah. Ben, he's a really cool guy. Anyhow, it was like that. That's, when we were there. But after time went on, we realized this is not what this is about. This isn't about somebody to give up to or anything like that. This is about the well that's inside us that we let go into. It's not about an external nothing. And of course, we were, without him saying anything, most of us got taught in the Vipassana, the Theravadan tradition of Vipassana meditation. That was our grounding, most of us. And he would send us there, but he wouldn't send us there. He'd say to me, "Are you going to the course?" In English, he'd go, "Course? We go course?" And, it was like little kids. Okay, we'll go to the course. I don't know what the course is. I don't really care. I don't want to go, but he was like trying to get rid of us. And but we all have established, wonderful grounding practice using breath, using your intrinsic breath. That's another thing, everybody. If you're looking for a practice that can just give you the fundamentals of getting that monkey mind off your back, this is, in my estimation, the best one to start with. Vipassana insight meditation. Anyhow,
we forget how important that is, just maybe because it's so easy to access that we write it off and are constantly looking outwards. And I know we're talking about films and books and stuff, which I still will always love, but the breath, you gotta focus on the breath at least for 10 minutes, at least for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
At least for 10 seconds.
Yeah. And there's some great tutorials around this with, here's another, Sharon Salzberg and Jack Kornfield and Joseph Goldstein, the three amigos, brought this practice back from Burma and India and Thailand. And if you go to Sounds True, you look for Insight Meditation, and it's Joseph Goldstein and Sharon Salzberg.
SoundsTrue.com?
Yeah. And you'll be able to pick up whatever. It's probably streams or downloads, whatever. And that will go a long way to helping create a day-to-day foundation.
Yeah.
And, this isn't about joining anything. There's no joining, nothing. This is about, if you feel like you've been so screwed up in your life and so unhappy, and you're motivated to change, And it takes practice to change, and that's a fundamental practice.
Have you seen this? There's this new Jonah Hill Netflix movie called Stutz about his therapist. And I just felt called to watch it all of a sudden. And the guy just basically has these great tools that one of the main ones that stuck with me was this thing called the life force. And if you're stuck and you don't know what to do, like, what do I do next? What should I do with my life? Where am I going? Like, you forget all that. You don't try to solve it. You just focus on your life force. And your life force is just these three things. It's body. So like, get into your breath. You sit still, like nutrition, exercise. We forget that we're using our body. The other one is you need people. If you're not associating with people, talking with people, having friends, even if it's having lunch with someone you don't even find that interesting, like if you just go make it happen, you're going to get something out of it. You need to have some connection with people. And then the third was yourself. You need to somehow be reflecting with yourself. Just write down whatever's happening with you right then. And we just often forget these three things, like just breath, breathing, have some connection with human beings. And it doesn't have to be the greatest writing in the world. It doesn't even have to be words. Just somehow mirror yourself, reflect, write on the thing, and just remember that that's the life force, which you can grow your energy from.
This is central to this film?
Yeah, it's the guy is. I haven't even finished the film yet. It's just in the first 10 minutes, and I loved this part of it. But the guy is this therapist for movie stars and the Hollywood types. That I guess it's a specific type of ailment, because I'm guessing that he mainly treats people who don't have financial worries. Because normally, if you're at a big famous movie star, that's probably not your concern. Your concern is probably, oh, I got all these worldly things, and I'm still unhappy. What's wrong? I thought that was the answer. Why isn't this fixing everything? So he has good tools for that. And a lot of it is not unique. It's just like we said, it's a reframing of truths. And I just love collecting reframings of
and that's what everything
of the truth.
That's what everything is. It really is going as far back as one can go. Stutz.
Yeah, it's the guy's name.
Okay. Netflix?
Mm-hmm.
What would we do without Netflix?
Watch Hulu, HBO. The time would be wasted elsewhere, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure it wouldn't be productivity, though.
Yeah.
Do you struggle with productivity at all? Do you find yourself being like, I should have finished this 2 weeks ago, and it's on my to-do list, and it's stale now? Or do you find that you're as productive as you'd like to be?
Going to India was a real teaching about pulling back from this gigantic responsibility, rupa, they call it in India, a form of, I've got to do this. I am going to do this no matter what happens. So I'd say I was on the opposite spectrum of this thing. And I realized it in India because you shut down there. You shut down all that stuff. And I did, sitting in front of the Himalaya. And coming back, I'm realizing that pause has to take place more often. Or else what I think I'm doing in terms of being 100% productive and responsible, there's something missing there. And it gave me a bit of a teaching. So it was the other way.
That's good to know. I should adopt this. Yeah, do less. Get less things done. Make a to not do list.
Exactly that. There's a great quote from that book I was telling you about.
How we live is how we die?
Yeah. No. And the other one, which is around how to flourish with parenting and work at the same time. Here's the quote.
Oh, that's the first one you told me
about.
Yeah,
that's the first one. Work, parent, thrive. Yael Schonbrunn. So here's the quote. almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including you, Annie Lamott. Anne Lamott. And you know who Anne Lamott is?
No.
Oh, if you like reading books, she's one of the most entertaining, penetrating, insightful writers that has a way of putting words together that is uncommon. Anne Lamott.
Lamott.
Yeah.
Like more philosophy, self-help, or fiction, or everything?
She comes from a Christian tradition, actually, and it's more, it's very humorous and gives you an idea through situational stuff, insights that you wouldn't have arrived at. You would, in this case, because of the way she sets it all up and her exquisite handling of language and being able to convey ideas through different conceptual idioms. It's really phenomenal. She is phenomenal.
Cool.
She's going to be, we have a next week, actually, at the beginning of December, we're going to be doing a big retreat in Maui, Ram Dass, that we used to do with him, but we continued, and he's very much there, actually. And Anne is going to be part of our presentation team, which you all, by the way, this podcast is just a bunch of commercials. But you can all watch that if you go to ramdas.org/retreat. It's free. You get live stream at least half or 2/3 of the session. So
yeah, and if you do an episode of all commercials, it's like there's no commercials. So if it was 50% commercials, people are gonna be turned off by that. But if you never give them the taste of non-commercials, then it's just all regular content, ad free.
Yeah. Okay, here's something else that is a gigantic insight into the reality of the most formidable way we can transform our stuck in our minds and our stories and our mini-me thing, our self-seriousness, our motivation for protection, comfort, get away from anything that doesn't feel good. We don't want, discomfort. No. And in India, of course, you can't avoid it, which is another good reason to go to India and get that confrontation.
You mean like with the, toilet stuff, showers?
Everything.
Personal space.
Yeah. There's 1.4 billion people. It's a bit difficult on the personal space. No, I was in a hotel. They put a beautiful new section right by the ashram that I first went to 50 years ago. And it was wonderful. We thought, what a great room. Just beautiful forest all around in the hill. It's rained for 6 days, 24/7. The monsoon blew back just after we got. So it was raining inside the room and the hotel. We were in the hotel with umbrellas going up and down the stairs to get to the room. India is uncompromising. So here's a quote.
Were you aware of it at the time? You're like, this is equal to being sunny outside. This is the experience. This is what I'm here to do. Or were you still like, I wish I'd gotten here a week later?
No, I was like, this is a miserable, screwed up moment, and I don't like it. It was cold and wet, but
it's probably both, though. And it's funny that I still ask these questions when I know very well that you're experiencing the duality most of the time, probably.
Yep.
Like, this is miserable and it's beautiful, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Maybe that's going too far. I might say this is miserable, but I see how I am pushing away the discomfort, and that's okay. I'm human, so I can push away a little bit if that kind of mindfulness. I mean, that's folks, if you at least get into some day-to-day kind of practice that steps you out of your belief in your bullshit into a little bit more of who we truly are. If you do that long enough, you actually get to a point where you stop reacting the way you used to react to everything, all phenomenon, people, situations. It doesn't grab you. And when you do get grabbed, you can see it in a much more spacious way. Maybe it's only 10 seconds instead of 10
That's a
hours.
lot. That's like sprinting, though, like 0.02 seconds in a sprint is the difference between first place and not even on the roster.
Or Formula One,
Oh yeah, even more. I think what's that, like 100th of a second or something crazy like that. But it makes me think that, getting this space emotionally in your reactions, and recently having visited my niece and nephew, and they're just, babies, and you watch them go through these temper tantrums over seemingly nothing. And your first thought is like, oh, they're children. They can't control their emotion, blah, blah, blah. But then you think, I'm kind of no different than that. I'm just a little bit better than what a toddler is. But I'm still not a full being of light. Like, I'll still get frustrated in the car or with this bill or something that happens with something. Like, we'll still have the internalized temper tantrum and realize later that, I was in my feelings. I was upset. I didn't know how to navigate it. I didn't have the space, but we're still growing in that sense. There's always still work to be done.
And you got to just say, it's okay. As Jack Kornfield always says, we're human. It's okay. Do you see that stuff that's going on? We have a orifice, with a big hole, and we put stuff into it.
Alien orifice.
Yeah. And if you ever watch yourself have sex, it's awful.
All the time.
Oh, God. Anyhow, it's okay to be. I mean, Ram Dass, he'd get into a state, right? A negative emotion or thought. And his mindfulness took place like this. Wow, how did I get here? That's what he would say. How did I get here? Oh, it's so...
you may find yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I forget the rest of the lyric,
but...
Oh, exactly.
Good old David Byrne.
Yeah, good old David Byrne is right. Okay, so Trungpa Rinpoche, we talked about him before as one of the great transmitters of the teachings of Tibetan Buddhism. So Pema said to him one day, what do I do when I die?
What do I do?
What to do when I die? He said, train now in resting in open awareness, which is a whole practice, everybody. That's it's not complex, but it's not easy to just start doing that. You need to have the grounding of something like insight meditation. And if at the time of death you feel fear or other emotions, do Tonglen for all the others who are dying and feeling these same things. Tonglen is an incredible practice of ascending and taking. We breathe in not just our discomfort, but the discomfort of all, and then we breathe out the transformed energy. So it's a wonderful practice. So
Tonglen,
Tonglon, Tonglon, yeah, and he goes on to say. So he says, if you feel like in that moment, just conceptually, this goes into why are we here at all, us humans? So if you feel that fear, so you're doing this practice for all the others who are dying and feeling these same things, right? Think of relieving them of their suffering and sending them happiness. And she said, I've been training like this for many years, especially when I feel fear. And you don't want to be on the deathbed to feel fear. We all do quite regularly, one way or the other. Just watch the news. Mm-hmm. I breathe it in and think of others and what they're going through. In this way, I'll open my heart now and then, of course, at the moment of my death. But how is it, this incredible Lama, Trungpa Rinpoche, it's a clue to everything, that the moment that you are getting out of the self entanglement that we are so entangled in, the moment that you do that, you actually you don't do anything, but the fear gets banished, the separation gets banished, and it's just a simple act. It's like. So Ram Dass wanted, when he met Neem Karoli Baba, he wanted to get secret teachings. Meet a being like this, they got to know something secret I can do to get enlightened. So he asked, what mantra can I get that will give me complete awareness, or whatever he said. And Maharaji said, feed people.
Mm.
And Ram Dass in his head went, now that's a Mickey Mouse thing to say. Feed people? What kind of simplistic, what's that going to do? My Buddhist friends are out there getting incredible mantras from their Buddhist teachers. But he tried again, and he said, well, how can I get my kundalini raised? Figuring he'd go into a yogic kind of a deal. And Maharaji said, love everyone.
Mm.
And that's how Love, Serve, Remember came about. And that is the only thing we really got from him of a quote-unquote teaching. The rest of it was having fun with us. He did say it's all one, things like that. But so the reality is that's what our whole raison d'être, they say in French, the reason for being is that. And it goes all the way, like when if you can't get that straight in your lifetime, and in the moment of death, you remember that one thing, give it out. Everybody's going through this. What can you, try and do something for all.
Yeah. And in
Isn't
order
that beautiful?
it's the most beautiful, and aren't the most, profound things. It's funny that they are the simplest things when you look at it, and you're expecting it to be this intricate, complicated thing that I'll need a cheat sheet to look at and remember all the mudras to do to unlock the magic powers. But no, it's the simple, and in that it's also sometimes the hardest too.
Exactly.
Because we want the shortcut, we want the investing quick tip.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Nope, love and feed people.
Yeah.
And that has many meanings. We think of it as just, some person might say like, oh, so I just go buy bread and peanut butter or something. Like, yeah, I guess that's one way of doing it, but you can feed people in many ways.
Duncan did that.
He bought bread and peanut butter.
Thanksgiving some years ago, he bought a bunch of canned food. I'm going to go down there in my backpack and I'm going to feed people. And then he went down there, and the reaction of people looking at him as scants because I'm going to do something for you was the vibe. And he described his nature in a very funny way, as he can,
I think
Duncan's going to be there too, by the way, next week.
Oh, really? Oh, he goes every year, I think.
Or maybe he tries. Last year he couldn't go because they couldn't get a COVID babysitter or some crazy shit.
Oh, right. Yeah, he's got the two munchkins now. Yeah. I mean, he's got the two munchkins for years now. But what was I saying with that? The having a cat is a good teacher for that, and not doing something for the reward, because you don't get a reward oftentimes. In fact, you might get swiped at for doing that act of feeding and giving, but you still do it. And I'm not doing it so that he can look at me and say thank you or give me a nice head rub. I do it because it's love.
There's nothing else to do. Nothing. Mm-hmm. He's okay, by the way, because we started.
Yeah, he had some pancreatitis. He was in the hospital for 3 days. R.I.P. to my bank account. But other than that, I'm happy to give everything for the little guy.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Oh God. Well, there's a lot more in this book. We have to, everybody, we never met. We sound like we know each other like for 20 years.
That's crazy. You have to my first thought when you said that was like, that's not true. What about, and then I cycled back all my memories. Like, you're right. It's trickery. It's trickery through the Zoom.
Yeah.
But you're in Ojai. That's not far. And, the pandemic has gotten much better since the last time we spoke, and I think since the time before that.
It's much better now. Yeah.
Has it not gotten a little better?
I think, but I still hear people getting it all the time.
Have you gotten it yet?
Yeah, I got it and then couldn't go to India. I had to wait till I got through it, and I went a month later than I was planning on going, actually, just since, a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
It's like a bad flu. Is I got, and I don't want it, but I don't even want a cold, So
yeah, me neither.
I keep wearing my mask so I don't get a cold.
I'm a nerd in that way too. But
What do you, before we go?
Oh, it's already time?
Yeah, tell me what you've been doing though.
Let's see. Since the last time we spoke, this has been a busy year in terms of doing stuff, and I guess that is how I will recount how my last year has went. But the highlights of it are we did a festival for our podcast Mind Under Matter. It was in Raleigh, North Carolina at beautiful.
That's right. I was trying, hey, do you want to do something? Well, I got to go do this thing. So yeah, what happened there?
So me and Shane, we put on a festival at Lakeside Retreats in Raleigh, North Carolina. We had live music, we had comedy, we had yoga classes, we had meditation classes, ice baths, and science talk. So it was music, comedy, wellness, and science. And oftentimes these festivals are just kind of, it revolves all around the music, and it's DJs and it's loud, and it's just kind of, that's a fine vibe for some people if you're into that. But we wanted something more, I guess, low key sounds boring, but I guess less loud and more conducive to making new friends. It was a camp out festival. We camped out there for 3 nights. There was an art walk, like lots of artists came and they would show their art live. Great. Yeah, it was 500 people. Wow. And it went swimmingly. And even though one day there was a lightning storm and it rained and everything had to be shut down because of the music equipment, we still just huddled in the tents, got into the yurt, did like impromptu performances. It was just completely magical time. Then after that whole festival, we come back here, and then I did my first solo art exhibit at Main Street Gallery downtown in Los Angeles. That was a lot of fun. Very nerve-wracking to fill up that space. And I'm not that well-versed in the serious art world, the world of white walls and like it's spaced out a lot and people are walking around with champagne. So that was kind of alien to me, but it was fun. I met lots of great people there. Got to show
I wish I would have wanted to see some of that.
I'll let you know when the next one is.
Please, yeah.
And let's see, I painted some murals over in Austin at Cap City Comedy Club and at the entrance near it also. And
did you see Duncan there?
In Austin? Yeah. No, he hadn't moved then yet. He was, and I was still hoping he was going to move to Los Angeles, and then he changed his mind because he didn't. I guess because the real estate market is just abysmal. Yeah. And totally. They couldn't get what they wanted, which is understandable. But I'm still going to try to convince him. Maybe you and I can team up. He doesn't need a house. He can live in, I don't know, in a cave.
He needs
under the
his
bridge.
Book, Work, Parent, Thrive is what he needs. Then, that's all great stuff.
Yeah. And then let's see, all that stuff gets finished. Yoshi gets sick. We take him to the hospital. I had a new baby niece born. That was fun. I got to go visit her. She's just just a little tiny bean right now. And I think that's all I can remember from 2022. I'm sure a bunch will come flooding back to me, but as far as just doing a brief recount of things, I think that was some things. It's no Himalayas, but I plan to one day.
Yeah, you haven't been to India, right?
Mm-mm. No, it's on my list.
Yeah. Hopefully, you don't have to say, you were going to say bucket list, but.
What's the difference between list and bucket? It was bucket, like
bucket
before I die.
Bucket is like you're going to kick it sooner than later. That's bucket. So
bucket means fast?
Bucket means you're closer to the end.
Death?
So that you want to get in going to the Himalayas before that happens.
Oh, who knows? I could be more than middle age, because middle age is not your age, but I see it as the halfway point between when you die. So there's people who are 10 years old and they're middle aged and they don't even know it.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Hopefully I'm not middle aged, and hopefully it's just on my list, but perhaps.
I know, people in the 70s who act like 8-year-olds and have the maturity level of it. So age sometimes is not an indicator of much at all,
Yeah. And some people are old men in their 20s.
Yeah, exactly. And I see my own levels of immaturity even at my age in the 70s, I see it so clearly.
Your 70s?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
How the hell I'd say I'm like if I was in my early 20s in 1970, 71, when I went to India, I pretty much got to be in my 70s now.
That's wild.
Yeah.
What do you do? Do you do specific anti-aging things, or you just naturally, your calmness gives you more
calmness? No, it's full of shit. I'm about as not calm as could be. No, I just don't take myself that seriously. Honestly,
oh, so that's probably the secret. Luckily,
that
I
is
got
the
that
secret.
then.
Yeah, you got that. That's kind of we vibe in that plane. So great to have you back here. Sorry, everybody. We're trying to catch up a little bit.
That's what people want. They want the intimacy. They don't need. It doesn't have to be all about tools and what things they can do or stories. Sometimes they just want to feel like they're in a room with some people talking. And right, listener? Hope you're enjoying those dishes or that drive or that spreadsheet you're working on.
And the beauty of this is kind of wonderful. I love doing this with you. So
likewise.
Yeah.
We still got to do an all music one at some point, and we'll try to stay on track.
We're going to do that. Yeah. Okay. No, I'm serious. I want to do that. Maybe I'll get my friend David Silver involved, because a lot of his career has been around directing and writing great music movies, from Marley to No Nukes with he spent a lot of time with Springsteen. The thing that Springsteen put out last year was his. He was part of the team on that one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I'm doing some Springsteen covers next week. I'm just on bass. I'm not singing it, but me and a couple of friends play at Permanent Records Roadhouse. Some gigs occasionally.
Wow. Jeez,
doing some Atlantic City, some Born to Run.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've got one right behind this curtain right here. See, where is it? Nope, it's on this side. There it is.
I saw it for a minute. Yeah. Okay, put the curtain down in front of you. Bye-bye.
Oh, right. Okay, good exit. Bye-bye.
It is. Bye-bye. Thank you, Ramin. We shall see you again.
Let's make it happen sooner than later.
Yeah, we're going to do that music thing. No, I mean it for real, okay?
Me too.
All right, love you. Love having you.
Love you. Love having you. Or love being here.
Yeah. Everybody, this is Mindrolling on Be Here Now Network. Go to BeHereNowNetwork.com, and the wonderful array of incredible beings, starting with Ramin's favorite, Sharon Salzberg. And we'll see you next week.